is my web app at the moment. So we have a login page. Log in. Set to a login page. It should have my details saved there. So log in. And here's the landing page. So you can see we've got a graph here, which is the previous 30 days sleep quality. So we had a pretty good first half of the month, and yeah, not so good in the last week or so. I asked ChatGPT to get me this data. It's mostly random, but with some bias to a couple of factors, just for the sake of the demonstration. And we can see here, there's only actually 29 entries here, and it's not going to give any advice without at least 30 days of data, because otherwise it's maybe 30 is too small anyway, but it's too small a sample. So what you'll do is the user will, each morning, will go into the tab sleep quality. They'll rate the last night's sleep on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being terrible, 5 being great. They'll log that. Here we've already got last night's, it's a rating of 2, but we can update it if we want to. So here. And then throughout the day, they're going to log the different events that happen in that day. So for example, we can come the night's sleep, and we can log the time that Matteo, who's my son, woke up. Okay. And as this is now the first event that you're logging in the day, it's going to create the events, send that to the database in the events table, and it's also going to create a new entry in the day or the sleep file, which initially will have a null rating for the sleep quality because it hasn't happened yet. Okay, so we can log that. See, that's logged there, and then throughout the day you're going to log different factors. You can log a morning nap between 30 and 60 minutes. If you make a mistake here, we can delete that if we want. Say no, it was a morning nap between 1 and an hour and a half, and that's logged there. You can log food, for example, breakfast, they ate a lot, and then nothing for a snack, etc., etc. And then we've also got this one here, which is like a custom activity. So here you can put any text in that you want, and maybe with the description, and it'll log that as an activity. For example, I don't know, visit grandparents, I don't know, all day, and then we can log that. The final one we have here, and we can see now that because we've created a new entry, we have 30 entries. So now we're getting some meaningful advice sent back to us. So here we've got morning swim leads to a good night's sleep, and afternoon screen time leads to a bad night's sleep. So this was kind of the end goal of my app, was to give some concrete advice that doing this makes your child sleep better, doing this makes your child sleep worse. And then hopefully the parents can implement or stop doing those various activities to see if they do make a difference. So there we've got that advice here. And finally, I've got a tab here which shows all of the events, all of the different events that are in your database, and the corresponding correlation. A little bit more on the correlation in a minute, but we've got this advice available to the user. So any value positive, or the closer to 1, the stronger the correlation with good sleep. The closer to -1, the stronger the correlation to bad sleep. A value of 0 would have no correlation at all. So here you can look at any activity you want. Like we can say, for example, if they wake up between 8 and 9 a.m. in the morning, we have a negative 0.045, so that seems like a bad thing to do. So maybe waking up earlier for them is better, or waking up later maybe. All right, and yeah, we've got that for all the available events. Okay, that's about it for the app. So yeah, we can log out there if we want when we're done. Okay, so briefly how it works. Every time you log an event, it turns that into a string or just a text, which is then sent to a table in the database. The first one of the day also creates an event in the second table of the database, which is like linked to the day. And that just has the date, the sleep quality, and then any number of events it's linked to in the events table. Then the next morning, you'll rate the last night's sleep, which will update this value for the previous day's sleep. Then once it has 30 values, the server will do some statistical analysis. I use the point biserial correlation coefficient, which basically links like Boolean yes-no events to a scale. Okay, this is the formula for anyone that is interested. And then my server, if any of them show strong correlation, then it'll send that back to the user as advice. Okay, challenges and lessons learned. I think probably a very common lesson learned, plan more. And I think for me specifically, with my data model, I should have spent more time knowing exactly the form of the data I wanted to submit and exactly what I was going to get sent back as well from the server, because I changed it a couple of times, and then I think still it's not the best format it could be. TypeScript was also a challenge. This is the one remaining complaint that stays in my file. I think it caused some headaches, but probably also saved me some headaches as well. In previous projects, I had a lot of time like looking for silly mistakes that TypeScript probably helped me avoid. What I'm proud of is probably like persistence. By that I mean all of this is pretty new to me. I didn't have a lot of experience coming into the program. So for me now to have done something that works, that serves a function in a week, I'm pretty proud of, despite all of the like moments where you're completely blocked or frustrated. You just have to keep going, try and solve it, and on to the next one. And second is maybe styling. It's definitely not my strong point, and I don't think the app looks as good as it could. But there was a moment when I was like, okay, I'm done. I think that's fine. I had a chat with Craig, who gave me some good advice, and I think it looks a lot better than it did at that moment. So maybe not the best, but also something I'm proud of. Technologies used in the front end. I use React, Tailwind CSS for styling, TypeScript throughout, Auth0 for authentication, and SWR for fetching. On the back end, I use Postgres for my database, Prisma, dealing with communicating with the database, Express.js. Okay, upcoming features, individual food options maybe, daily words of wisdom. This was in an app that I had that's quite nice just to get like various either quotes or bits of advice. A breastfeeding tracker, which is pretty useful for mums or parents, especially at the beginning, and maybe some more charts with like growth or other kind of metrics. Okay, that's about it. So thank you. Special thanks to Craig and Arol for the help during the project, and thanks for listening. Okay, any questions?
Are you thinking of implementing maybe various profiles for people with more than one kid?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I have only one child, so I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, that would definitely be a good feature, or maybe like different tabs where you can have different kids. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Would you say that you, like one of the things that you said is that plan more or knowing more how the structure of the database or the API is going to look like? Do you think that now you would nail better like the design of these two pieces beforehand? And if so, what do you think is what you would do differently, or what you will focus on the design of these two pieces?
Maybe not nail, but I definitely have a better idea. Like just the one-to-many, many-to-many relationships that the tables can have in the database, I have a better idea of that now. And just spend a bit more time knowing exactly how they're going to relate to each other and how that's going to be input into the database. Yeah.
In terms of API?
How do you mean? What the?
As in, you say, if I understood well, you say that one of the things that was not working very well is not knowing or having to change what data were you sending up and down.
Yeah, like a few occasions on the front end, I wasn't able to get what I wanted displayed because I wasn't taking into account the form of the data that was being sent back by the server. And so just matching these better, knowing what's going in, what's coming out, before you're trying to do anything with the data.
Hey, great job with the presentation. Was there anything that surprised you? Maybe in terms of difficulty, like anything that was harder or easier than you expected, or?
So I don't think it doesn't have any one element that was particularly more difficult than the others, and I don't think it's got anything particularly like novel or complicated to implement. But I'd say probably on like Saturday, at the end of Saturday, I was like, oh, I think I've got like something I could display already. And then suddenly it was like Wednesday, and I was like, I don't feel like I've added much more. It was a lot more kind of sorting out, getting everything actually working properly. That took a lot longer than I thought. Because at one point I was like, oh, I'm going to definitely have time for these extra features, and then suddenly it was Wednesday. So yeah, maybe that.
Any advice you would give to our juniors about? I mean, I was going to ask about TypeScript specifically, but I guess TypeScript. Any advice you would give about TypeScript?
With TypeScript, I kind of ignored all of the complaints I could, and maybe don't do that. Maybe actually go, okay, why is that complaining? Try and work it out before moving on, because then you're just left with loads of complaints, and either they're not fixed or our role has to help you fix them. And so maybe listen to it when it's telling you, well.
So you said TypeScript created a lot of problems for you, and it also helped you in other ways. Do you think it's beneficial to use TypeScript?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. I think it's, it will definitely save a lot of headaches. And once you know how to use it, then the problems it caused me, it wouldn't cause those problems anymore, but it would solve all of the ones that I could still do. Yeah.
So a little bit of feedback then. So I'm going to stay here so everybody can see me. Yeah, it's a little weird, but okay. A little bit of feedback for everything. Well, the first comment is I have to say is that actually like related to the last comment that you did about productivity, and it's like on Saturday you thought that you had already something and then you didn't add value. Actually, that's something that is to have in account. That's actually called the Pareto principle, in which like 80% of the work you do it in 20% of time, and then the rest 20% you do it with the 80% of time. And this is because the finishing of the projects, delivering the last step, the last mile, is always the most complicated one, the most boring, more tedious, more work to be done. And this is why you don't see that much of advancement. But I have to say that from the outside, it's completely the opposite. So I work with you. That's true that the last contact that I had with the project was like helping with that PR on the TypeScript side and the typing. So I didn't see that much the feature or the UI side, but it improved a lot since Saturday. So I saw it in Saturday how it was, and now it improved a lot because not everything is code, not everything is features. Sometimes it's how you show these features. And actually, on the demo, that surprised me. I thought that I knew what I was going to see, and it's not. So I understand that, and that goes for everybody. I understand that sometimes it's like that work that in which I learn myself to enjoy this kind of work, although it's tedious. But although you don't see that much advancement, believe in yourself that or believe that you are actually adding the most value, right, on that last mile. So it's non obvious, but I think that it's super important. And actually it surprised me. It's like a very good job because between what you had on Saturday and you had today, it has made like a complete change. I can see how you can start using this thing right now. Like on the what you had on Saturday is like, yeah, you can start using it, but you know, is it one of these tools that an engineer does for themselves, and then just they know how to use it, and then that's it. Yeah, it's like, yeah, that machine does that. Yeah, incredible. It's like you are the only one that knows how it works. So that was very, very engineering, like kind of UX. But now, like it improves a lot, and then you can see, I can see using it. And actually, I'm curious to see in a month what are the. Yeah, give it a go, please. It's like because that's that's very cool. Let's see. No, mostly because it's going to be cool to see if you can see a correlation between what the machine is telling you, the tool is telling you, and what you have observed. Because maybe it's like, nah, that's not actually something that, or maybe yes, I don't know. So curious to that. By graduation, I'm going to ask you. Right, some more technical comments. Like the start of the presentation was very good. As in, you could relate, you can connect to the tool. Although I don't have kids, I can relate to that. The demo, the structure was well. The demo was flowing. You had a story to tell. You had it prepared, so you added one more data, and then it was like triggering that that change and was starting giving recommendations. Very good for that. You had like a lot of data put in there, so this worked. On the technical side, I had like seeing Auth0 on the client. Like you only installed Auth0 in the client only. Okay, you use like a feature that they have, so you don't have to touch the backend. They do that because you usually don't have access to the backend. But then it's better if you take control of the backend. I mean, it's even maybe it's a feature that they have, but it's mandatory to do it in the backend because right now, if I know that you cannot have anything on the backend, I can add data. That's it. I can bypass the anything, and I can just add data directly on the backend. So yeah, that's for the next steps, and that's it. That will be it. Well, the comment I always say, but it's not fair because, well, this is the part of the teaching. Like this diagram of logos, this was a pool of logos or a division between backend and frontend, and it's better if you do a system diagram, right? And it's like, no. Like there are different services, no? One is the frontend is a service, the backend is another service, the database is another service. So how they connect together, Auth0, where it is, how does it's an external service, it's not implemented inside, but it's connected. All these kind of things which are more interested than just a pool of technologies. Okay, that makes it more engineering side, like interesting from the engineering side, because if not, you are a logo hunter. Yes, and careful with that stigma, because there's a lot of, like developers that try to hunt the next logo. As in, I'm going to make this tutorial because now I'm going to know Astro. This is the next hype, and then I have another batch. Yes, so, and that's not very well perceived from experienced engineers, because I know that as an experienced engineer, the next discussion that we're going to have is if we should adopt HTMX or the next or the next framework that is going to appear tomorrow, and we perceive that as a little bit of a useless conversation. Okay. So if you put the system diagram, it's like, oh, very interesting, a system diagram, right? And I'm going to focus more on that. And then maybe I'm going to be interested on the technologies. But you put some foundations first, okay? Aside from that, very smooth, very well. Congratulations, very good job. for the week and for the next project now. Right, so congratulations, Robin. Okay, so today we had only one presentation. Is the Robin batch. So not anymore on the group project now. Welcome, Juno. You're part of this batch now, and many others. So see you guys in 3 weeks as we're going to now start the group project. Okay, that we already had the kickoff today, and then we're going to have the sprint planning on Monday. All right, thank you very much. Bye bye.